Hello, everyone. Season's greetings. That's actually the subject of this video, Christmas, um, and how I feel about it as a season, as an event. Um, I really believe this is something that does change from childhood to adulthood in terms of how we perceive it. Um, and I think that Christmas this year certainly has a different feel about it, as it did last year. I really think this pandemic has affected so much. We can't understate that. And I really think the year 2022 will be welcome. The UN said it's a year that the pandemic will be defeated once and for all, and I hope that's true. Um, really, this is ghastly. Its impact on obviously life and death. You know, it's claimed a lot of lives, but just generally the way it's disrupted everything. Um, it's ghastly, and I just really hope that the world can move out of this next year. The world will continue to have other challenges, but this thing is just, honestly, it's really clouded over everything, I feel. And you know, you can try and work with what you have, and I certainly feel that there's always someone out there in a worse position, but yeah. Um, but before people to put off, I don't want the note of this video, I don't want the overtone to be too negative, because I do have positive observations as well about Christmas. But I'll start with that. I think it does change from when you're a child to when you're an adult. As a child, in most Western traditions, and indeed much of the world, you have the whole thing of, you know, looking forward to Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, and it's a magical time. Now, for me, Christmas is still my favorite time of the year. I actually like New Year's. I like the concept of one year turning into another. I've always liked New Year's. I just find it a time to reflect and to move on. This is not to say that if something bad's happened, you know, December the 31st, January the 1st, so everything's going to be better. But I honestly do think it's an opportunity to sort of it's like a passage of time. And my whole life I've been fascinated by time. So the passing of a year is something I always see as quite a big thing. And particularly the passing of a decade. Um, but Christmas, it is special. There's no question about it. I'll just quickly show you some of my decorations. I've got slight hiccups here, so please excuse me. Well, just show you a few. Got the little red deer there. I've had him for a while. I've got tinsel. Um, I love tinsel. It's one of my favorite things about Christmas. I just love the look of it, and I love that Christmassy smell you get from tinsel. So it sounds strange, but if you actually smell it, there is actually a specific smell to tinsel. I'm not sure what it's made from, if it's shredded aluminium or what. Anyway, there's other colours around. I'm quite happy tonight actually because I've just found I got a new light bulb for my lava lamp, and then I find the lava lamp is fused. But I've just found another lava lamp from years ago, and it was covered in dust, and it was a little bit messy. And I thought, that this isn't going to work. Put the new light bulb in, and it actually is working, so that's great. And I'm just watching it right now. In fact, you can see. Just quickly show you this one. So, Christmas. Obviously, there's if we get into the origins of it, there's this sort of ongoing debate between Christians and pagans over its origins. I'm not really interested in that, to be honest, because it's. I honestly think when you go back, you know, you'll find persecution on both sides. The Romans persecuted Christians. Christians later persecuted pagans, so it worked both ways. But to be honest, I think pagans have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder about this because they're always talking about, oh, how Christians took, you know, the pagan festival. Well, you just celebrate your pagan way, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I think it's like It's the story of history. That's always happened throughout history. I mean, the Romans done that to the Greeks, and it's happened throughout history. So, with all due respect to pagans, it is what it is, and you're not going to change it. So, um, just celebrate your own way. Um, Obviously, Christmas isn't the only festival at this time of the year. There's Hanukkah. Um, I have a friend in Israel. She's not Israeli, but she works in Israel, and the lady she cares for somewhat celebrates Hanukkah. Not everyone does, but um, for this video, I want to focus on Christmas. I like to keep up some traditions, Christmas cards. Now, with my generation, very few people actually give out Christmas cards, which is a pity, I think. Um, when I visit my parents' house, which I will do tomorrow, I'm traveling to Scotland. We're not breaking any rules because it's not a party; it's only a family gathering. Um, you know, I look around, they have hundreds of Christmas cards, but it's a rural area. My dad works in a church and it's mostly parishioners and older people. So I do think older generations keep up the tradition of Christmas cards more. I actually have a box of cards from some people might say this is sad, but I've got like some I've kept over from years past. Because after all, what happens to them? I imagine most just get recycled, and I think that's well, it's all right. You can't keep all of them, but I'm a sentimental person, and I do keep quite a lot. Um, but I just like the idea of it. I like the idea of keeping up an old tradition. In this country, the year 1843 is essentially the year that Christmas as we know it was born. In that one year, A Christmas Carol was published. Christmas cards were invented, and the Christmas tree arrived from Germany, all in the year 1843. So that's sort of the beginning of the modern concept of Christmas in this country. And it's easy to forget that before that time, Christmas was an event, but it wasn't what we know today. There was no concept of Santa Claus. It's widely thought, of course, that the figure of Santa Claus, as we know, the jolly big guy with the red tunic, was largely popularized by Coca-Cola in about the 1930s. In the late Victorian period, there was a Father Christmas figure, but I think it was somewhat secondary. Um, it was still largely a religious event. I think on some level it is. You still see a lot of Christmas cards with, for example, the nativity scene. You see nativities in churches. Um, and that's, it's a core part of what Christmas is. But for many people, of course, who aren't practicing Christians, it's about being with family, it's about the decorations, it's about presents and all of that. Um, I like that. I like the fact that it is a special time. I like meeting my family. Um, I live on my own, so it's nice to see my parents after a while. And for us, it's only me, my parents, and my sister. My brother lives in the United States. Um, so it's quite low key, more low key than in the past when, pre-COVID times and when we were together as a family, the big parties and so it was just different. It was a bigger scale, but it's still nice. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope there's no issues with transport. Usually that route from Newcastle to Dumfries is quite quiet. There's usually not major disruptions or anything. I really, really sympathise for anyone trying to get out of the London terminuses, because that's usually always a headache. Or even someone stuck in an airport on Christmas Eve. Honestly, the approach I've taken during this pandemic is just no travel abroad at all. Um, People, I think, are in situations where they may have to travel. Maybe it's a relative funeral or maybe it's an essential work trip. But honestly, the stress from quarantine and all that sort of stuff, I just don't think it's worth it. So I'm waiting for the world to move out of this. I mean, as a journalist, I'll have to travel. Um, I'm really looking forward to the world getting out of this thing. Um, but yeah, just the idea of being with my family. We have a pretty conventional Christmas. We will have the Christmas dinner. I usually watch the Queen's speech. Um, my mum's a bit of a royalist, my dad's not, so but I watch it. Um, we open one present on Christmas Eve. We open other presents on Christmas Day. Um, I've got a DVD in, so I'm just gonna want it to crank off if you put it on static for too long. It does that. The present. This is something I want to talk a little bit about because one thing I don't like about Christmas is the overt materialism of it, and I think that is a factor. Um, Now, I exchange presents. Me and my family do, as do most British families. But I do think it's noticeable that people do get quite materialistic. And it's how people want to do their Christmas is entirely their own business. But I think it's an unfortunate aspect of this because when you start getting to the point of kind of this competition over who can get the most expensive presents, it just becomes unfortunate. It becomes materialistic. And especially with young children, I think that it develops an entitlement mindset. See if the present's as good as this year as it was last year. There's children in the world who have nothing. And I don't want to sound preachy. I really, really don't want to preach in this video, but I've just watched a news report about the latest typhoon to hit the Philippines, Typhoon Rai. It's killed at least 375 people. And people there, they've got nothing or very minimal. So I just think that, and even in this country, when we see rough sleepers and so on, and again, I don't want to preach, but I just think people need to just be aware that some people have nothing or they've got very little. So to complain about materialistic things, it's a bit. I mean, obviously, if you get a product, for example, and it's not working or something like that, um, or let's say you get an expensive present for a loved one and they get nothing in return, it might be a bit. But that's why it shouldn't be a competition. It shouldn't be about that. Um, I mean, I get presents from my family. They get presents from me, and it's I'm always grateful for that. But I don't think that should be the number one focus of Christmas. And I think as you become an adult, you realize that. As a child, it is all about presents. Let's face it. As an adult, it does become more about family, and I think now more than ever. But there's another aspect of Christmas. I think that it can actually exacerbate negative feelings or loneliness more so than a normal time of the year. Let's say, for example, if you're feeling lonely in December or something's happened in December, I think that's worse than if it was in, say, I don't know, May or August. Um, because the purpose of the season is supposed to be the season of goodwill and getting together with your family and all of that. If you're lonely, loneliness is a disease. It affects a lot of people, older people, single people, homeless people. There's a lot of people out there probably that are lonely. And I can't say I'm particularly lonely, but this year's been tough. Anyone who watched my video about online dating will know what I've been through recently. And I'll be honest, that's affected my mental health on some level. I wouldn't say I'm in a deep depression at the moment, but I'll be pleased to see the end of this year, put it that way. Because that experience, what I went through with that woman was just um hard. It really was. So coming up to Christmas, it's not easy. But being with my family will help. I know that some people maybe don't have family; they're estranged from their families, or so we have to be grateful for what we have. And 2022 is a new year. I'm still on the site. I might find someone who's better than her. If you don't know what I'm referring to, check out my video on online dating. Um, but I also have huge sympathy for people. It's not just about loneliness. It's also people who've perhaps faced a tragedy or it's the anniversary of a tragedy. There was an incident in London a few days ago where a mother and two of her children died in a house fire, or three of her children. I mean, I can't imagine the impact of that on a family. I mean, a death in a family is always hard, but when it comes in that sort of circumstance, like say a road accident or a house fire, that really, I can't imagine that. I really can't imagine it. I've known people who've lost their relatives, maybe a parent or a sibling, um, when they're still quite young, and I don't think there's any magic wand to get over something like that. And in my family, I've been quite fortunate. I can't say we've had a comparable tragedy, but we've had our share. Without going into too many personal details, we've had our share of difficulties, but never that, never that. Um, but I think Christmas is like so many things, it's about balance. Too much of it, too much commercialization, too much. I mean, for me, when I see Christmas decorations being sold on top of Halloween decorations, I'm thinking, like, that side of it, that overt capitalism is quite depressing because it's like, well, where's the spirit of Christmas here? It's all money, money, money. I know businesses have to make money. That's what they want to do. It's understandable, but really, selling Christmas decorations and Christmas presents and all the rest of it in October, even earlier, August. I've seen it as early as August. That's just, I know why they do it. It's all competition. It's the market, but I think that's unfortunate. Um, and another thing about Christmas, is people who are working, like in shops, they've got families. I'm sure they want to get home. But people get so impatient, and it's all like, oh, just me, me, me. I don't want to be too cynical, though. There's obviously a lot of good people out there who care for others, and it's not. I don't want to give the impression that I think it's all negative. I don't. But I do think as you get older, you realize the paradoxes of Christmas more. That is to say, the contradictions of it's a season of goodwill, spending time with your family, but then you realize it's not a happy time for everyone. Just not. And all the nice decorations is almost like, I imagine for them it would be like rubbing salt in the wound. Um, that's not the case for me. I mean, I'm going to see my family. I'm looking forward to it, but um, this will not be the happiest Christmas for me. It just won't. It'll be nice to see my family, but I'm still getting over that situational harmony, and it will take time. Hopefully, December 2022, I'll be in a better position. I'll hopefully have found someone by then, and just my life will be going in an upward path. But it's not all bad. I mean, I graduated this year from my journalism course. That's good. I've saved a bit of money. That's good. Um, and I'm looking at 2022 with a fresh perspective. That's good. So it's not all bad. I've been watching some traditional Christmas films. I always watch A Christmas Carol, different versions of it. My father likes the George C. Scott version. I don't mind it, but I've seen it so many times. The 1984 George C. Scott version. I've watched both Home Alones. Love Actually is a great film. It's just I've seen it so many times. So I like to alternate a little bit. So one year I'll watch it, I'll skip it the next year, then maybe the year after, something like that. Yeah. Interestingly, I'll just close with one point. I got interesting Christmas paper this year, Christmas wrapping paper. Dinosaurs. Yeah. Apparently, a dinosaur embryo egg has just been found in southern China. So it's probably for kids, but I thought that was quite fun. Dinosaur wrapping paper. Anyway, stay safe, everyone. I hope your Christmas is as stress free as possible. And if you are going through a difficult situation, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe you're alone, try and look forward because it won't always be like this. I think certainly for people who like maybe something happened on Christmas as an anniversary, that's hard. And all I would say is there's other festivals in the year, there's other occasions in the year that can maybe balance that out. Okay, take care everyone, and if you do celebrate, Merry Christmas, keep safe, and yeah, have a good one.